Paahtis! I haven't reacted to Paahtis. And I always want to see new people, so let's check it out. Alright, Japan is flooded with foreigners due to over-tourism thanks to the country's weak economy and weak yen.
Japan has turned into a theme park for tourists. It seems like every other week there's a new video going around the internet where tourists act like they own the country, which eventually leads into public outrage. Things have gotten so...
What sucks too is the fact that they typically really like they really like tourists typically, but like there's just this new wave of like nuisance streamers and like just absolute like terrible people that have been like just going over it, basically just running amok, taking advantage of just how polite and nice they are. It's really bad. It's really bad in Japan. It's really bad in Korea. And it's really bad in, what's the freaking name of it? I just know the YouTuber that's been, like, running over there, and I don't even want to freaking give him, like, clout, so I'm not gonna mention it, but it's been pretty freaking bad.
Now there's a name for them.
Freaking, Costa Rica.
People who do this kind of stuff are called...
No, Costa Rica different, right? It's not really, but...
Meivaku Gaikokujin, which simply translates to nuisance foreigners, and the situation is worse than ever before. The Japanese economy is not
like, bro, it's straight up, it's an old saying, but there's like a reason for it. Like, when in Greece, do as the Greek do. Like, when you're in Japan, be respectful of their customs, of their culture. Do as they do. Like, if they're just on the train, they're being quiet, they're being polite. Shut the hell up, sit down, be polite. Not that difficult.
Doing good, and their currency is weaker than it has been in decades. This means that Japan has become an affordable place to visit.
Which, by the way, me and Chaos have been wanting to go on a trip to Japan for the longest. It's one of the reasons why I started trying to learn Japanese, and I swear I'll go back to it. Like that we want to go there for sure, but like this right here, all this like nuisance streamer stuff has really like put a damper on our moods about the whole situation. If anything, we're now like, I don't want to go and like.
And as of right now, Japan is having
it's not like we're gonna go and make an ass of ourselves or anything, but it just feels like
it has ever had before in its history. With millions of people visiting, there's bound to be bad eggs in the bunch who don't know how to be respectful in a foreign country. This is
oh, that's a pretty big thing too, because you have to understand, in Japan, there's no public trash cans, really. Not a lot in Japan. But that's because mainly you don't really walk around with like food and like Starbucks. Not like here in like California and stuff, where everyone's walking around with a freaking drink in their hands and a Stanley cup and all this other stuff. No, it's like you if you're gonna go to a restaurant, you eat the drink, you eat and you drink there at the restaurant or at the vending machine. There's a trash can next to it. You know, you throw away the trash there and then you go about your business. You don't really just walk around like public places with food and beverage.
Further affected by the fact that now with the rise of social media, influencers have started spreading the image that Japan is a fun cartoon land where everything is quirky and you can treat it like a theme park. We've already had many situations like this go viral this year, and now with another video popping up with these guys dancing and doing pull-ups on the train, I thought it's time to talk about this again. Now, I'm not saying I haven't thought about doing pull-ups in the train, but the reason I haven't done it is simply because it's not something you should be doing in Japan.
It's because it's douchey. It's because you're a douchebag if you do it. That's
Since
why.
Most people in here
it's a
have to
douchebag thing
spend
to do.
hours in the train.
Like, it doesn't even matter if it's in Japan or not. It's a douchebag thing to do. Like, what are you doing?
Like sardines on their way to work.
It's not your private
There's
ship.
a consensus that trains are a place where you don't mess around. Sure, there are many Japanese people who don't follow the rules and cause chaos in the train, but the difference is that it's
well, you're always gonna have exceptions to the rule.
It's their country. Of course, they shouldn't be doing it either. But
Well,
tourists
yeah, you're always gonna get a lunatic. But that's like a lunatic. That's like an insane person or an exception. There's somebody having a bad day, something. These are people who are out actively going out there to become a nuisance in order to get clout and views.
should put an extra effort into not acting like dickheads, because it's just not cool. You might like walking around naked in your own house.
Like it's douchey. Like not only is it douchey, but on top of that, you're actively pushing back any kind of progress that the Japanese culture could have with any Western society as well. In the simplest, purest form, like you don't think there's gonna be some Japanese person that that's like racist towards black people, and now because of all of this, you don't think they're gonna be like basically self-affirming their own biases? You know what I'm saying?
But if you
Like
come
now
to
you
my
got
house,
freaking signs posted up where it shows like an actual black person dancing, and it says no, none of that.
keep your clothes on.
Like what the
I
frick?
don't want to say doing an obnoxious TikTok dance on the train is the worst thing you can do, and even some kids seem to be enjoying it on the videos. But to me personally, it doesn't matter where I am. When I'm coming home from my 18-hour shift at the office, I don't wanna see this bullshit. And there are clearly people who think like me on the video, as you can clearly see from the reactions they give to this guy.
Yeah, they're like
Let me be straight with you.
like they got their own life to deal with. They don't need to deal with your BS.
Japan as a country can be pretty racist. Living here means that I have to put extra effort into being considerate. For
What? Other countries outside the United States of America and the United Kingdom aren't incredibly racially diverse and accepting? BS! I don't believe you. No. I don't believe that for a second. I thought the United States of America was racist and the rest of the world was like totally culturally diverse and like super okay with everyone else. What do you mean? That's not how the world works? Oh, okay.
For example, if a Japanese person sees another
Yeah,
Japanese
it turns out if you go into the middle of nowhere in Japan, they probably have never seen a black person before, so like they might be a little racist. It's like when people go to China and they're surprised that they're like not exactly the coolest people with black people. It's like, what? Crazy.
person crossing the road on a red light, they're going to think that one guy is an a-hole who doesn't follow the rules. But if they see me cross the road on a red light, they're going to think all foreigners are a-holes.
Go ahead and post it on the Discord.
In order to keep us foreigners on good terms with the locals, I have to act like a saint. Which is fine. I'm here because I want to be here, and that's the sacrifice I have to make. If you even can call, having to act like a nice person to be a sacrifice.
If it's just YouTube brain rot, don't even bother. I'm not watching any Scarlet X Benji
causing
stuff.
trouble and being on the news. But things between the tourists and the Japanese are worse than they have ever been now, and it's only getting worse each day. The good thing is that collectively the internet has been clowning on these guys and condemning their actions whenever situations like this have popped up. One thing I'd like to remind people though is that not every Japanese person thinks doing stuff like this is as disrespectful as you might think. When you look at the comments, there's usually a mixture of opinions, though unsurprisingly, since the country is 98% Japanese and many people here have a negative opinion on foreigners, they usually tend to lean into negative territory. And rightfully so. In most of these cases, the people acting up have deserved a reality check for their stupidity. The worst offenders from recent memory being Logan Paul, Johnny Somali, Suspendus, and Phidias.
Dude,
These
I forgot
are the
about
big ones,
Suspendus.
but there are many smaller
Bro was
ones
like
happening all the
actually
time.
insane.
Just recently, a girl was on the news for doing TikTok challenges on a local shrine, which was probably the wrong place to be doing that.
You know what I'm
There has
saying?
also been huge talk about tourists taking photos of Mount Fuji in the wrong places, blocking the traffic and overall causing nuisance to the local people. Not to forget, tourists
You see,
in
but,
Kyoto
like,
taking photos of the
this has nothing to do with a cultural difference. Get out of the freaking way! It's a freaking 7-Eleven. Get out of the freaking way! Trying to work here. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, you wouldn't just walk around taking pictures of people out in the streets, would you? Like here, wherever you're from, you wouldn't just take a random picture of a random stranger in the street. Stop it.
Michael in extremely disrespectful manner. There is a huge spectrum of the nuisances
They're not mascots
tourists
at
do
Disneyland.
around here, and I tend to agree with many of the criticism since tourists can be annoying anywhere in the world.
What's wrong with this freaking lady?
Then there are some
She's a
things where the
psychopath.
hatred against tourists goes a bit too far, and the national news start blaming foreigners for eating all the rice in the country, like I mentioned in my earlier video. So the Japanese reactions to these events are mostly understandable, but sometimes they might be a bit too extreme. But one thing I've noticed when reading the reactions from the West is that, at least to me, it seems like many people out there simp for Japan a bit too hard. Japan is considered to be the cleanest, most respectful paradise on earth, and sure, it is a great country, but in the end, I do think people forget that it's just a country. When some a-hole travels on the train without a ticket in Japan, people go insane and want to cancel them, but when someone does it in another country, nobody cares. When Assassin's Creed gets historical things wrong about Japan, there's an outrage, but when they do it in their other games, nobody cares again.
That's not true at all. I feel like that's disingenuous. A lot of people care. It's just that nobody puts it up on social media. Like it doesn't blow up to the, like, you're right, it doesn't blow up to the extent that it has, but like people who are being like douches like are still like, there's been a lot of nuisance streamers that are doing it. What was that one fool who was like getting on top of buses and breaking into people's houses, stealing dogs? And he was doing that in the UK, and it became a huge deal. So no, I think that's disingenuous. I think they definitely like, people still care. It's just that right now there's been a huge discussion with Japan because Johnny's like the biggest names on the platform have been messing with Japan so much, and Japan has become such a primary target for them. But it wasn't just Japan that's being targeted as like a really good spot for them to be clowns at. Now it's like South Korea, and I'm sure after South Korea gets, now that they're like starting to crack down on Johnny Somalia, all these nuisance streamers are gonna go somewhere else. They were trying to go to Israel for a cool minute there too. So I guarantee you, it's just gonna continue like that. It's gonna continue. Also, was it Palestine that they were like a lot of nuisance YouTubers were going to as well? Like they're always gonna find like the next like big place. It just happens to be that right now Japan is in the spotlight. Now, the whole thing with Assassin's Creed Japan I feel like this has nothing to do with any of this. The reason why people are pissed off about Assassin's Creed, the Assassin's Creed in Japan, is that for some freaking reason, they decided to make the main character black instead of a Japanese person in a Japanese Assassin's Creed. Like, what the frick are you talking about? Like, what? That's like how you, like, they've never done this to any other Assassin's Creed, where they just, like, switch the ethnicity of the character with like the land that they're freaking in. Can you imagine if they freaking put an American assassin in the London Assassin's Creed? People be like, "What the frick? What's the point then? What was the point of all that?"
Assassin's Creed.
An Egyptian Assassin's Creed, but you would be playing as a British guy. You get me? Or you play as I guess it's Egypt, right? Like, let's say you're freaking you're playing the Assassin's Creed Origins, where you're in Egypt, but you play as a Roman guy. Like, that wouldn't, like, what? Why would I play as a Roman guy? Working for, like, I should be working for Caesar. I shouldn't be working for freaking, or Greece, whatever the frick, and not for freaking Egypt. It just doesn't make any freaking sense. It's stupid. And not only is it stupid, but then Ubisoft comes out and starts to like make all these big claims about like, oh no, if you don't like this, then you're just racist, or if you don't like this, you're sexist, or if you don't like you know, and like they start to try to like put themselves up on a pedestal. So that has nothing to do with any of this. It has nothing to do with the fact that it's Japan. It has everything to do with the fact that it's Japan, but they for some reason decided they had to add a black dude in it and put hip hop music, which just shows how disingenuous they are about actually wanting diversity, and they just really wanted to put a black guy in it for like no reason other than, I guess, ethnicity points.
Gets historical things wrong about Japan, there's an outrage. But when they do it in their other games, nobody cares again. Most of the time,
what other games though? The one he's showing here is Ezio Auditore de Firenze.
There's an outrage. But when they
no, this is a bow and arrow. This is Connor. This is Connor, a Native American in colonial America. What are you talking about? I have to disagree with this point heavily.
In their other games,
yeah, this is literally Connor, the Native American man, well, half Native American, half British colonist, in America. If anything, this is the most American character in the game because the rest are technically British colonists.
Nobody cares.
So
again.
yeah, no, this Connor is more American than the actual other characters. What do you mean?
Most of the time, these things
he's Native American, as a matter of fact. Some might even
nice
say
people want to
he's
defend
more
the
American.
country I live in and love. However, I do notice
disagree
the
with that point, big
inconsistencies,
time.
the reactions when it's about Japan. People love the idea of Japan being this utopia, which is why most online content about it is how amazing everything is in here simply because it sells. I try my best to give a realistic view of the country in my videos because I want you guys to love the country like I do. I want you to love it for what it is, not for what you'd want it to be. Japan is not an utopia, it's just a regular country. But don't forget that when you're traveling in here, even though it is just a regular country, it's not your country. So to anyone who wants to travel to
But I feel like any country, no matter what country it is, as a tourist, you should be respectful. You get what I'm saying? It doesn't matter if it's just Japan or if Japan is just another country. Yeah, any freaking country you go to, you should probably be respectful.
Japan, do your best and
I get his point though. Nobody's talking shiz about all the Americans that go over to Mexico to run amok and then come back during like summer break or something. You get me? Nobody's calling them out.
try to avoid acting like you
Have
own
you seen the
place,
beaches after the whole
because,
Baja
well,
California
you
like
don't.
races and stuff?
Whenever people act like this,
They don't leave.
it
Americans do
only
not leave the Mexican beaches nice and pretty. I'll tell you that much.
makes the local people hate us foreigners
Looking at you,
even
Monster
more,
Energy Drink. I
and
see
will
you out
make
there.
traveling to Japan harder for all of us.
And again, forget morality. I'm gonna like this video and I'm gonna subscribe. Paahtis, what a great freaking video, dude. I really freaking like this video. Really well done, really well made. I'm gonna drop a, it's already on the Discord, so go ahead and check it out, my dudes. But yeah, like, regardless, even if it's not, even if Japan, if it's not Japan, and it's not like any unique country or anything like that, it's just douchey. Like, forget it being in Japan. Forget everything else about it. Like, Johnny Sommelier is a douche, whether he's in Japan, whether he's in Korea, whether he's in didn't he go to did he go to freaking Afghanistan for a little bit, something like that? He's a douche in every country he goes to. I don't think people are freaking out about that people going to mess around in Japan. People are freaking out because these Nuisance streamers have decided to target Japan and they're all going over there. And now that, you know, of course, Japan stopped being the #1 attraction, now they all went to South Korea. But of course, things are getting hot over there with Johnny Sommelier, so now it looks like they're all moving elsewhere, too. Give you the Discord. Oh, sure thing, my dude. Here you go. Something these people don't understand is, I bet they don't do these things in dangerous cities like Rio de Janeiro in Brazil, especially in a slum. Well, that's the thing, isn't it? Like, they do it in Japan because in Japan, there's so less, like, likely of a chance that there will be repercussions or consequences. And similarly, you don't see them doing this stupidity in Mexico, where the cartel is, you know, like, and where most of the police force is just the military, straight up, like, you know, like, they don't do that there. And it's like, why? Because they know, and I think that's why people see Japan as like this underdog that's not really willing to put the hammer down on tourists because they realistically need the tourism, and so people sort of want to like white knight them, defend them, you know. But I see his point though. I get it. Thanks for hanging out. Like or dislike, comment, and subscribe, and become a Monodachi today. I live stream all day, Monday through Friday, so go say hi. That's all for now, Monos. Goodbye, and thanks for swinging by. Salut!